Hello and welcome to my new channel. Today I'm going to be ranking my favorite Fazbear Frights stories. I'm going to be ranking from my least favorite to my favorite, and I have an extra ranking list for all the Stitch Fate stories. Let's begin, shall we? Number 9, Into the Pit. Although it is the first story in the Fazbear Frights books, it's my least favorite. I like the Fazbear Frights stories that are more grounded in reality, or have a cool, easy explanation for the more sci-fi stuff. This story, unfortunately, has none of that. Oswald goes into the ball pit and suddenly he's in the 80s. Then he sees Spring Bonnie's murder victims and tries to run away, but Spring Bonnie follows him and becomes his dad for some reason. It's really confusing. Number 8, To Be Beautiful. Again, there's no easy explanation for this one. I think I kinda get the story behind it, but it's still really confusing. Sarah finds Eleanor, a wish-granting animatronic who is probably baby, and wishes to be beautiful. Eleanor gives Sarah a necklace and warns her not to take it off, then explains that day by day she'll get more beautiful. How Eleanor does this is by chopping off Sarah's limbs when she's asleep and replacing them with withered robot parts. And then, one day Sarah accidentally takes off the necklace and the illusion is broken. Yeah, talk about a convoluted story. Number 7, Out of Stock. This story is about a kid called Oswald who wants a Tickle Me Wiggly. Sorry, wrong fandom. He wants a toy called a plush trap chaser. To cut a long story short, he steals a funky looking one. It has human teeth and eyes. But it doesn't work for a while. Starts working in a storm when Oscar and his friends Isaac and Raj are home alone. Basically, it becomes the monster book of monsters from Harry Potter and tries to chomp them. They race around the house trying to get away from the plush trap pursuing them, really living up to the name of Chaser, and finally they manage to lead it to the railroad and it gets hit by a train. The reason why I rank this one so low is because I don't like characters learning about a thing from action. I prefer a more character-driven plot where they meet someone who knows about the thing, but that's just my opinion. Number 6, Count the Ways. Quick explanation. Millie is staying at her grandfather's house while her parents are away for work. Millie is gothic and obsessed with death. She doesn't like Christmas due to personal reasons, so when Christmas comes she decides to hide in her grandfather's shed. In there she finds Funtime Freddy. She decides to prank her grandfather and hides in Freddy's stomach. She gets trapped in there and basically Freddy lists the ways he can kill Millie, and it ends in a cliffhanger because we don't know if she dies or not. I don't have much to say about the story. I don't not like it, but it's not my favorite, so it's kind of in the middle for me. Number 5, Room for One More. Stanley is a night guard for Sister Location. Every night he finds a mini Rena at his desk saying, "Take us home. We like being close to you," etc. But he goes to sleep and the mini Rena is always gone. After the first night he finds he has a sore throat and a numb arm. The next night his other arm is numb. The next night his leg is numb. He goes back to work and realizes the mini Rena he keeps on seeing are actually different mini Renas each time, and they have been climbing into his mouth and are staying in his body. I like the story because it gives more lore to the mini Renas, as well as establishing how secretive Sister Location is. It's quite short, so it's not ranked higher since I like the longer story. Number 4, Lonely Freddy. This story is about a boy called Alec, who's jealous about his younger, quote-unquote, perfect sister Hazel. He makes a plan to show everyone what a spoiled brat she is by making it so she can't get a "Yarr, Foxy" from the wind tunnel at her birthday party in Freddy Fazbear's. However, he only took out one Foxy ticket from the wind tunnel, not knowing there was 2, and Hazel got the other one. Instead of keeping the Foxy, she gives it to Alec. Alec then throws a fit and runs into the back room, where a lonely Freddy, a toddler-sized Freddy used to follow around the lonely kids and be their friend, asks him questions about himself. Alec's consciousness travels over to Freddy, and now Freddy's consciousness is in Alec's body. Alec is now a lonely Freddy. I like this because it's a cool idea for a story, although some bits of Alec's plan is confusing since it's not explained until it happens. Number 3. 1:35 a.m. Ella, the doll who shares my name. We meet again. 1:35 a.m. is a story about Delilah, who purchases Ella from a garage sale. Ella has a built-in alarm clock, so Delilah sets it to 1:35 p.m. since she has work at 2. It doesn't go off at 1:35, so she throws it out. After she does, at 1:35 a.m. every morning, she wakes up and hears creepy things happening in her room. Footsteps, doors opening, whispers. After a while, she can't take it anymore and drives to an office building that's being built. She stuffs herself in a vent to get away from Ella, and I assume she dies. I like this story because it focuses on Delilah more than Ella. We get to see what Delilah does all day, her backstory, etc. I was so disturbed when I read the end. And speaking of stories whose ends disturb me. Number 2. Fetch. I always get carried away explaining Fetch. The story is so cool, I feel like I have to cram every detail in there. I'll try explaining it short. Greg and his friends enter an abandoned Freddy's. They find Fetch, an animatronic dog who can sync up to your phone. Greg syncs it up to his phone, and after he does, whenever Greg vaguely mentions he wants something, Fetch will, fetch it. At the end, he rang one of his friends and said that he wished he was with his science partner, Kimberly, his crush. He realizes his mistake and runs to Kimberly's house. She's fine, but her dad phones the police on him. He goes home and takes a shower. In his hallway, he discovers a lumpy thing with a blanket over it. The blanket is stained red. Greg gets a message from Fetch. See you. The end. Oh my gosh, the end. It's just perfectly disturbing. I thought about it for weeks. And my favorite story has a disturbing ending too, though I'd argue it's even more disturbing. Number 1. The New Kid. Here it is, my favorite story. It's a story about Devin and his friend Mick. They're the weird kids at school. No one wants to be around them. Then Kelsey, the new kid, joins. He befriends them both, though Devin is on edge about him. Kelsey seems to be who Devin wants to be. Popular, charismatic. Kelsey even woos Devin's crush. So, Devin decides to play a prank. Devin leads Mick and Kelsey to an abandoned Freddy's location. They look around until Devin leads them to the back room. He opens a closet, and the golden Freddy/Fredbear is there. He convinces Kelsey to try on the suit. All Devin wanted to do was to make Kelsey stuck in there for a while, and then help him out. However, it doesn't go as planned. The spring locks are set off. Devin convinces Mick not to tell anyone, or they'll go to jail. After a few days, Devin decides to go back and see if Kelsey's actually dead. At the location, he stupidly reaches his hand into the suit's mouth. It clamps down on his arm, and then his shoulder, till it's bitten his whole side. It's assumed he dies. That was my ranking of the Fazbear Frights stories. I'll quickly share my ranking of the Stitch Race stories now, since there's only 3. Well, my first ever video is done. Remember to like and subscribe, and tell me your personal rankings in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you.